Imagine you're a man and woman married probably for many years, and suddenly one of you comes out and says to your spouse, I'm gay. There are a lot of places for you as the gay spouse to go for support, but what if you are the remaining heterosexual partner of someone who announces they were gay? One of the places you go is the Straight Spouse Network, and we're here with its founder, Amity Buxton. Amity, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for being
here.
It's been several years since you've been on the show. I'm delighted to hear you're still doing your good work. And you have 2 new books out. Talk to us a little bit about them.
Okay, one is called Unseen, Unheard, The Journey of Straight Spouses. And you know, there's something like probably 2 million or more of us out there. But we're unseen and unheard. It's our husbands and wives who make the headlines. So this book is bringing our stories for people to read and know that we're here.
Right. And the other one, which I adore, it's so cute, called Herbert the Hedgehog. And tell us a little bit about this book. Who is Herbert the Hedgehog?
Herbert the Hedgehog is a story about acceptance. And he's a little different, a little bigger than the rest of his family. And it bothers him, and he hides away. And his family's behind him. And at some point, a mallard duck befriends him. And the family asks the mallard duck, will they help him, Herbert, go to his dream place in the prairie?
Right. So your work actually has really expanded. Now, I mean, you founded Straight Spouse Network because you were and are the straight spouse of someone who came out after how many years of marriage?
25.
And that must have been a shock.
Well, it was more a relief to figure out why things had fallen apart, why it was like living with a stone wall. Wasn't me.
Right.
It was his orientation. He couldn't help it.
Right. I remember a few years ago when the same-sex marriage debate was really beginning to heat up, and you wrote a wonderful opinion piece that got picked up in the New York Times, I believe, which I thought was an interesting perspective. It was supporting same-sex marriage, not from the perspective of those of us who are gay going, hi, we want equality in marriage. You were saying, you know what, if we let our gay, quote-unquote, brethren marry and be themselves, gosh, wouldn't it be easier on those of us who were married to gay men for 25 years and didn't know about it?
Yes, and since then I've added another argument saying, look, most of our marriages, once they come out, end up in divorce. If you allow gay men and lesbians to marry someone of the same sex, you're going to strengthen the institution of marriage.
How did you walk through that minefield of staying amicable with your former husband?
Because he was still the same person. It was just the sexual orientation that was different. And sure, I went through stuff, but I didn't realize. I remember being in Paris, jaywalking across the boulevards, trying to prove that I'm bigger than this crisis. And I think that's why. And I learned to see things as both and, rather than either or.
And you founded Straight Spouse Network, which is a nonprofit. Now, we know what the recession has done to a lot of nonprofits. It doesn't strike me that this is $1 million enterprise. How is Straight Spouse Network doing?
Well, I think we get about $50,000 a year, maybe from individual donations and a nice little grant from a little local San Francisco organization. But we've had to cut back half-time. We have only 4 people working on operations and the website and outreach. We've had to cut back, so we need money desperately.
And so, and where do you go for support? I mean, you say you get grants. I mean, you can say it. Where do you get grants from?
There's a local one here, part of the Hormel Foundation. They gave us a little bit, but mostly it's individuals.
Right.
People don't get it. They don't, it's the gay people that need help. You don't need help, you're straight.
And what do you say to people who say that to you?
I said, this is a crisis. You lose your identity, you lose your own integrity. People are leaving their churches, their crisis of faith. This is a trauma. I
mean, I've met you several years ago, and your story personally has always inspired me. Have you met other women? Of course, I'm sure it's men and women, but I would gather that most of the people who come to you and say, hi, I have a spouse that came out as gay, are women, correct?
The large majority is, but you know what? The straight men come crying, asking for help. It blasts away all that masculinity myth. The men are coming.
So their issues are different. So a straight man who suddenly finds out his wife is a lesbian.
They still are more concerned about her as a person and less angry, but they're more devastated in a way.
Do you find the women tend to be angrier?
Yes.
So some of the women that you've met over the years, they're not as kind of even-keeled as you are
Well,
about this.
eventually they are.
And do you think most
And
of...
they're mostly angry at the betrayal and the hiding, not...
And what do you find is the issue for most of the spouses who come out? Is it that they didn't know they were gay until they got into the marriage, or they got married because of social pressure, religious pressure, combination of all of that?
I think most of them got married not admitting they were, and the social church conservative pressures of you have to get married and so forth. Yeah, in most cases. Very few deliberately did it.
So Straight Spouse Network, you advocate for a number of causes, but you also, I mean, you testify, you speak, you write books, obviously. This isn't just about men and women, it's also, I imagine, about girls and boys. Do you have families, children that come to you and say, hi, I just found out Dad is gay, what do I do?
Well, I usually send them to Collage, Children of Lesbian and Gays Everywhere. But interestingly enough that you bring it up, I'm a member of the board of the Lesbian and Gay Catholic Ministry, which is a group that provides pastoral help. And our mission these 2 years are our youth, your youth, my youth, our youth, trying to help them.
Now, I imagine this isn't something that's funded by the Catholic Church.
Nope.
You know, there was just something in the paper the other day. There's a group in the East Bay in Northern California that tried to get its Catholic gay group to take a pledge to the Catholic Church.
That's my group. That is my organization.
So talk to me about this.
We work with parishes that welcoming parishes. We were asked to sign an oath that we believed in everything. I can't tell you it.
Yeah.
But to sign a loyalty oath to all the specific doctrinal teachings.
Sounds kind of 1938 to me.
And we refused.
And
we don't know what's going to happen.
Right. So, I mean, at this point, I mean, do you have like lawyers for the church versus lawyers for you getting involved, or is it?
No, we're going to continue our work, whatever happens.
I mean, is this? I mean, the Catholic Church has. Is this unusual for them to ask to take a loyalty oath?
I just read in the National Catholic Reporter that this is happening everywhere.
Yeah, I remember when I was in my late teens, I went to what was called Dignity Mass, which was the Catholic gay group then. And I went to Dignity Mass at Georgetown, at the chapel. And I found out a few years later that the Pope suddenly said, oh, well, you can no longer meet on church property.
Yep.
Do you think the Catholic Church hierarchy is ever going to get it?
I pray. We pray for them.
You pray for the Pope?
Yes. Yes.
What's your feeling about how same-sex marriage is being dealt with in the Catholic Church? I had a guest on in an earlier show, Bishop Otis Charles, talking about the Episcopal Church and how they're very proactive in recognizing same-sex unions. Do you think the RC, the Roman Catholics, are ever going to get there?
I don't know. I just want to make Catholics, gays who want to stay in the church welcome. And I keep arguing and writing letters, and we're not saying that priests have to marry them, but they can be legally married. And anyway, I'm hoping that reading Unseen, Unheard, The Journey of Straight Spouses will make people, not just straight spouses and professionals who are the major audience, but the ordinary person, if they could pick it up and see what these conservative attitudes are doing to real live people. That's my hope.
I mean, because it's hurting not only the gay and lesbian partners who come out, it's continuing to hurt men and women who love them.
Exactly.
Is your husband still alive?
No, he died all by himself.
But you loved him till the end?
Oh, yeah. And I was devastated.
Yeah. We've been speaking with Amity Buxton, a real heroine in my mind, founder of Straight Spouse Network. I'm David Perry. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week on 10%.